bewilderment down the empty, dark opening, looking so utterly stupid that Maya had to laugh. Finally he roused and shook his small round head in angry distress, his feelers drooping dismally like two rain-soaked fans. "People nowadays no longer appreciate fineness of character and respectability," he sighed. "Effie is heartless. I didn't dare admit it to myself, but she is. She's absolutely heartless. But even if she hasn't got the right feelings, she ought to have the good sense to be my wife." Maya saw the tears come to his eyes, and her heart was seized with pity. But the next instant Bobby stirred. He wiped the tears away and crept cautiously behind a small mound of earth, which his friend had probably shoveled out of her dwelling. A little flesh-colored earthworm was coming along through the grass. It had the queerest way of propelling itself, by first making itself long and thin, then short and thick. Its cylinder of a body consisted of nothing but delicate rings that pushed and groped forward noiselessly. Suddenly, startling Maya, Bobby made one step out of his hiding-place, caught hold of the worm, bit it in two, and began calmly to eat the one half, heedless of its desperate wriggling or the wriggling of the other half in the grass. It was a tiny little worm. "Patience," said Bobby. "It will soon be over." But while he chewed, his thoughts seemed to revert to Effie, his Effie, whom he had lost forever and aye, and great tears rolled down his cheeks. Maya pitied him from the bottom of her heart. "Dear me," she thought, "there certainly is a lot of sadness in the world." At that moment she saw the half of the worm which Bobby had set aside making a hasty departure. "Did you ever see the like?" she cried, surprised into such a loud tone that Bobby looked around, wondering where the sound had come from. "Make way," he called. "But I'm not in your way," said Maya. "Where are you, then? You must be somewhere." "Up here, up above you, in the bluebell." "I believe you, but I'm no grasshopper. I can't turn my head up far enough to see you. Why did you scream?" "The half of the worm is running away." "Yes," said Bobby, looking after the retreating fraction. "The creatures are very lively. I've lost my appetite." With that, he threw away the remnant which he was still holding in his hand, and this worm portion also retreated in the other direction. Maya was completely puzzled, but Bobby seemed to be familiar with this peculiarity of worms. "Don't suppose that I always eat worms," he remarked. "You see, you don't find roses everywhere." "Tell the little one at least which way its other half ran," cried Maya in great excitement. Bobby shook his head gravely. "Those whom fate has rent asunder, let no man join together again," he observed. "Who are you?" "Maya, of the nation of bees." "I'm glad to hear it. I have nothing against the bees. Why are you sitting about? Bees don't usually sit about. Have you been sitting there long?" "I slept here." "Indeed." There was a note of suspicion in Bobby's voice. "I hope you slept well. Very well. Did you just wake up?" "Yes," said Maya, who had shrewdly guessed that Bobby would not like her having overheard his conversation with Effie the cricket, and did not want to hurt his feelings again. Bobby ran hither and thither, trying to look up and see Maya. "Wait," he said. "If I raise myself on my hind legs and lean against that blade of grass, I'll be able to see you, and you'll be able to look into my eyes. You want to, don't you?"
"Why, I do indeed. I'd like to very much."
Bobby found a suitable prop, the stem of a buttercup. The flower tipped a little to one side so that Maya could see him perfectly as he raised himself on his hind legs and looked up at her. She thought he had a nice, dear, friendly face, but not so very young any more, and cheeks rather too plump. He bowed, setting the buttercup a-rocking, and introduced himself. "Bobbie, of the family of rose beetles." Maya had to laugh to herself. She knew very well he was not a rose beetle. He was a dung beetle. But she passed the matter over in silence, not caring to mortify him.
"Don't you mind the rain?" she asked.
"Oh, no. I'm accustomed to the rain. From the roses, you know. It's usually raining there."
Maya thought to herself. "After all, I must punish him a little for his brazen lies. He's so frightfully vain." "Bobbie," she said with a sly smile, "what sort of a hole is that one there, under the leaf?"
Bobbie started. "A hole? A hole, did you say? There are very many holes round here. It's probably just an ordinary hole. You have no idea how many holes there are in the ground." Bobbie had hardly uttered the last word when something dreadful happened. In his eagerness to appear indifferent, he had lost his balance and toppled over. Maya heard a despairing shriek, and the next instant saw the beetle lying flat on his back in the grass, his arms and legs waving pitifully in the air. "I'm done for," he wailed. "I'm done for. I can't get back on my feet again. I'll never be able to get back on my feet again. I'll die. I'll die in this position. Have you ever heard of a worse fate?" He carried on so that he did not hear Maya trying to comfort him, and he kept making efforts to touch the ground with his feet, but each time he'd painfully get hold of a bit of earth it would give way, and he'd fall over again on his high half-sphere of a back. The case looked really desperate, and Maya was honestly concerned. He was already quite pale in the face, and his cries were heart-rending. "I can't stand it. I can't stand this position," he yelled. "At least turn your head away. Don't torture a dying man with your inquisitive stares. If only I could reach a blade of grass or the stem of the buttercup. You can't hold on to the air. Nobody can do that. Nobody can hold on to the air." Maya's heart was quivering with pity.
"Wait," she cried. "I'll try to turn you over. If I try very hard, I am bound to succeed. But Bobbie, Bobbie, dear man, don't yell like that. Listen to me. If I bend a blade of grass over and reach the tip of it to you, will you be able to use it and save yourself?" Bobbie had no ears for her suggestion. Frightened out of his senses, he did nothing but kick and scream. So little Maya, in spite of the rain, flew out of her cover, over to a slim green blade of grass beside Bobbie, and clung to it near the tip. It bent under her weight and sank directly above Bobbie's wriggling limbs. Maya gave a little cry of delight. "Catch hold of it," she called. Bobbie felt something tickle his face and quickly grabbed at it, first with one hand, then with the other, and finally with his legs, which had splendid sharp claws, 2 each. Bit by bit he drew himself along the blade until he reached the base, where it was thicker and stronger, and he was able to turn himself over on it. He heaved a tremendous sigh of relief. "Good God," he explained, "that was awful. But for my presence of mind, I should have fallen a victim to your talkativeness." "Are you feeling better?" asked Maya.
Bobbie clutched his forehead. Thanks. When this dizziness passes, I'll tell you all about it." But Maya never got the answer to her question. A field sparrow came hopping through the grass in search of insects, and the little bee pressed herself close to the ground and kept very quiet until the bird had gone. When she looked around for Bobbie, he had disappeared. So she too made off, for the rain had stopped, and the day was clear and warm.